There is a city, and in that city, there is a restaurant. Not the kind you and I go to on a random Tuesday. The kind where people go to be seen. Where the lights are warm and golden, and the laughter costs money. Where men wear watches that could buy a car. Where women come in jewels and perfume just to sit down and eat. And in that restaurant, every single night, there was a young man carrying their plates.
He was not small. He was not weak. He was not a lesser man than anyone in that room. But to every single person who walked through those doors, he was invisible. Not a man with a name, not a person with a story burning inside him. Just a waiter, a plate carrier, a uniform, background. Some women would talk right through him like he was made of glass, giving orders without a glance, gesturing at him like he was furniture. Some men, the loud ones, the comfortable ones, would laugh with their friends while he stood there beside the table. And the things they said. Imagine being this age and this is your life. Some of those men didn't even lower their voices. Like he wasn't even worth the effort of whispering. But none of that was the worst part. The worst part, the part that sat in his chest like a hot stone, was the age mates. Boys he grew up with. Boys he went to school with. Boys who knew him when they were all equal. When nobody had anything and nobody had a reason to look down at anyone. Now they came to that restaurant. Not because the food was special to them. Not because they were hungry. They came for the show. To order from him. To laugh. To feel big in front of whoever they brought with them. To take out their phones, sometimes, and capture the moment. Look at him. Look at where he ended up. That kind of hurt doesn't heal fast. That kind of pain doesn't stay in the restaurant when you close up. It follows you home. It gets in the bed with you. It's still there when you wake up.
And yet, every single time, he said nothing. No argument. No broken plate thrown to the floor. No moment where he finally snapped. No tears in the back bathroom before his next table. Just that same face. That same careful expression. That same small, quiet smile that gave absolutely nothing away. But inside him, it was war. Every insult was stored. Every laugh was filed away in a place inside him that nobody could reach or touch or take. Every "you are nothing," every careless dismissal, every moment he was looked through instead of looked at, all of it went in. And every night after the last customer left, after the chairs went up on the tables and the lights dimmed down, he walked out into the night alone. And he said the same words to himself, every single night, like a prayer, like a promise, like a weapon. I will not end like this. I will not end like this. I will not end like this.
Now, let me tell you something that nobody in that restaurant knew. Something nobody who mocked him knew. Something not even his own family knew. After every shift, when the city finally went quiet and most people were already deep in sleep, he sat down at the small wooden table in his room, under one single light, and he wrote. Plans, ideas, numbers on pages, a business that lived inside his mind as if it already existed in the real world. Every detail thought through, every obstacle mapped, every possibility written down in a notebook that was getting worn from how many times he'd opened it. The pens kept running dry. He kept buying new ones with the little he had. And under his mattress, there was an envelope. Not a lot of money in it, almost nothing some months, but every spare thing he had went in. Every sacrifice he made in silence went in. Every meal he skipped, every luxury he said no to, every small thing he denied himself went into that envelope. Nobody knew about it, not his mother, not his closest friend, because he was afraid not of failing, but of telling someone about the dream and watching their face when they didn't believe him. He could survive their mockery in the restaurant, but he could not survive their doubt about the thing he loved most. So he carried it alone, like a man who knows exactly where he is going, but cannot afford to speak it into the wrong ear.
Months passed. The insults continued. The age mates kept coming. The notebook kept filling. The envelope kept growing, slowly, slowly. And then one evening, a different kind of man walked into that restaurant. He wasn't loud, didn't look around the room to find the other powerful people, didn't flex, didn't need to be noticed. He just sat down, ordered something simple, and watched. Not the other guests, not the decor, not the performance of wealth playing out around him. He watched the waiter. Every visit, same thing. He came back, again and again. For 3 months he came back, and he watched the way the young man moved, the way he absorbed insult after insult and never once cracked, the way his eyes stayed clear even when the room was trying to dull them, the way he held himself together when lesser men would have exploded long ago. This man had built things, real things, difficult things. He had hired hundreds of people in his time, and he had learned over all those years that the rarest quality in any human being is not talent, not intelligence, not even ambition. It is the ability to hold fire inside you without letting it destroy you. And this boy, this quiet, overlooked, plate-carrying young man, had more of that quality than anyone the stranger had ever seen.
One night, the last customer left. The restaurant emptied, the lights dimmed, but the stranger didn't move. He just sat there, in the near dark, and when the young man came to clear his table, he looked at him and said 2 words, "Come here." The young man walked over, cloth still in his hand, uniform still on, confused, a little guarded, and the man asked him, "How long do you plan to stay here, letting people use you as a punchline?" Silence. Not the silence of someone who has nothing to say, the silence of someone who has too much, and no one has ever asked the question before. Then the stranger leaned forward, and he said, "I'm building something real, something that will outlast both of us if it's done right, and I need someone specific for it. Not someone with a perfect CV, not someone who was born with advantages, someone who has already been tested by fire and refused to break." He paused. "I have been coming to this restaurant for 3 months. I have watched you absorb more disrespect than most men could survive in a lifetime, and you never broke. Not once. You are the only person in this building who qualified." The offer was not extravagant. He was honest about that. Not big money at the start. Not a title. Not guaranteed success. but a real seat at a real table, a chance to build something from the inside, a chance to learn from a man who had already walked the road. And then, one condition. You leave tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. No going back to say goodbye to the kitchen. No, let me think about it. No half step. No excuses. You decide now. The young man stood very still. The stranger looked at him calmly. No pressure in his voice. No urgency. Just the quiet certainty of a man who already knows the answer and is waiting for the other man to catch up to it. I'll be outside in 10 minutes, the stranger said. I hope you are too. And
he stood in that empty restaurant alone. The same floor he'd walked 1,000 times. The same tables he'd cleared. The same chairs where people had laughed at him. The same walls that had heard every quiet insult and watched him swallow every one. He went to his locker in the back. He looked at his things. A spare uniform, a pair of shoes, the small personal items of a man who had not allowed himself to accumulate much, because some part of him always knew he wasn't meant to stay. He thought about his mother, what she would say, what his friends would think. All the people who had already written the story of his life and given it a small, predictable ending. He thought about the age mates who came in to laugh. He thought about the men who said his life was a failure. He thought about every moment he had bitten his tongue and said nothing, and walked back into the kitchen and stood in front of the sink and just breathed. And for the first time, he didn't feel the anger. He felt gratitude, because all of it had prepared him for this exact moment. Every insult absorbed. Every night he chose not to break. Every entry in the notebook. Every note in the envelope. It was all practice. And now the real thing was outside, waiting.
He reached under his apron, took off the uniform top, folded it neatly and placed it on the counter. He went to his room. He looked at the table, the lamp, the notebook. He picked up the notebook, tucked it under his arm. He reached under the mattress, took the envelope, put it in his jacket pocket, close to his chest. He packed one bag. Not everything, just what mattered. Because some things you leave behind on purpose, not because they meant nothing, but because carrying them would slow you down. He stood at the door. He didn't look back. Not because the past wasn't real, not because it didn't hurt, but because he had already given it everything it deserved, every quiet night, every bitten tongue, every whispered, "I will not end like this," in the dark. He had paid his dues to the hard season, and now it was time to walk into the next one. He opened the door. The night air hid him. The city glittered ahead. The stranger was there, just as he said he would be. And for the first time in a long, long time, the young man smiled. Not the small, careful restaurant smile. The real one. The one he had. I need to speak to you for a moment. Not everyone watching this. Just you. The one who knows exactly which part of this story felt like it was written about them. You have been serving people who don't see your value. You have been saying, "Yes, sir," "No, sir," "Coming right away, sir," in rooms that have decided you are small. You have been absorbing things that would have destroyed other people. And you kept going. You have a notebook somewhere. Maybe it's real, maybe it's just in your head. But there are plans in there. There is a version of your life in there that is so much bigger than what people around you believe for you. Do not let them talk you out of it. Do not let the mockery make you small. Do not let the age mates who came to gloat convince you that where you are right now is where you are ending. The season you are in is not your conclusion. It is your preparation. The thing about the waiter, the real truth of his story, is not that a stranger came and saved him. It's that when the stranger came, the waiter was ready, because he had spent every hard night becoming the person who deserved the door. You are becoming that person too, whether you feel it or not, whether anyone around you sees it or not. Some doors only open once. Be ready when yours does. Keep the fire